Welcome again to our series of how KRA operates. This is part 3, and today we are talking about step-by-step flow for a company, how KRA operates when it's dealing with companies. Now, let's start by definition of what a company is. Company is a separate legal entity, a separate person from the owners. It's usually required to follow multiple tax obligations at once. This is now what differentiates a company with an individual. And it's actually also subject to higher scrutiny. Now, let's now first of all study how a company operates, the flow of operations as expected by the taxman. Number one, a company has income. That is, business income is earned. And a company can earn income through trading, offering services, manufacturing, construction, can be an agency. There are several ways companies earn their income. That's the first point. And secondly, transactions are recorded. This is an expectation that you record your sales, you record your expenses, you record your payroll records, your bank records, you record your asset purchases, you record your liabilities and receivables. So there must be record keeping for your company. Then thirdly, there's the monthly compliance that is expected of companies. This is where you comply on a monthly basis on several tax bands. Number one, that could be PAYE. As a company, you are a tax agent to KRA for salaries earned by employees. So you deduct tax from your employees and submit them to KRA. You can also have withholding tax. This is where you collect tax. You're a collection agent for KRA as a company for payments you have made to several people like consultants, contractors. The other one is VAT. This is where now you do a monthly compliance on the VAT on your sales, on your purchases, and this is cross-checked by KRA. There's also other compliance requirements like excess duty, agency revenue, capital gains. We're going to learn more about that later on. Lastly, but not least, we have annual compliance. Therefore, a company has to comply annually for corporate income tax, based on what has been declared as your profit. Now, this is what differentiates mostly a company and individuals, and it is the system of cross-checking. KRA does not just accept your numbers, okay? It is cross-checking on what you're reporting, what you are showing. Your monthly compliance and your annual compliance is cross-checked. For example, VAT versus income tax. KRA is always cross-checking what returns did you showcase in your VAT, monthly VAT, and your annual return of your corporate tax. And this is where people go wrong. The sales they show in the VAT might be less or even more than what they show in the income tax. For example, right now we are in the season of doing our annual returns. And if these two are not matching, then the annual return is not going to be complete, or it's not going to go through. There's also another issue where KRA cross-checks and compares PAYE and your staff cost. For example, right now you do your annual return and you decide to say that you have this amount of staff costs, but it does not even match with what you declared as PAYE, or even it didn't have PAYE. That's a red flag. Another cross-checking happens when there's bank activity versus declared revenue. During tax audits, you find that KRA will request for your bank activity. And if your declared revenue does not match or does not relate to how your bank activity looks like, there's a red flag there, and KRA will demand extra payment of tax based on the difference. So this system of cross-checking requires you as a company owner or a company director or a company accountant always to make sure there's no discrepancy between these things. Another cross-checking that happens is withholding tax versus revenue. But also you are a company that earns some amount and it's withheld. Now, whatever amount that was withheld and the revenue that you showcase is cross-checked. Another thing that affects traders who import is the import data versus VAT return. This is the import data at ICMS versus your VAT return. So once you import, they have the data of what you imported. But if it does not match with your VAT return, therefore, if it does not match with your VAT return, red flags. And this affects many traders who import. Another one is property land records versus rental income. And last but not least, we have items invoices versus income tax. That is expenses and purchases. Right now, many are experiencing issues because they don't have valid items invoices to back their expenses and purchases. And good thing KRA has given us an opportunity to upload manual invoices. However, we can be sure that going forward they will be emphasizing that all expenses and purchases must match validated items invoices given by your suppliers. A company operates by having its operations, sales, and expenses, doing reporting on a monthly to annual basis, and then there's verification by KRA. Now, I want to conclude by mentioning 4 things where companies go wrong. Number 1, they treat taxes separately. So there's inconsistency in taxes. What you file in VAT does not match with income tax. What you file in your PAYE does not match with what you're saying as staff costs, etc. Number 2, as I've always mentioned, poor record keeping. This can cost you a lot in terms of how you defend yourself during tax demands, tax audits. Even how you comply is dependent on your record keeping. And thirdly, it is ignoring monthly filings. When you ignore your required monthly compliance, therefore, there goes issues starting in your company. Now, lastly, it is not reconciling iTax ledger. It's very important as a company to continuously look at your iTax ledger for any issues that may arise and making sure that you reconcile so that those issues may not pile up and create issues for you. So much can be said about companies, but this is just the beginning. This is just an introduction. And going forward, we're going to be digging deeper into specific industries, specific companies, specific cases, so that we can learn from them and we can prepare accordingly and bring about businesses that are profitable and flourish even in tax compliance. Thank you for watching. Kindly like and subscribe and follow us on our social media platforms. See you next time.